representing the transition. What the transition is a social change network. We are trying to form a website that helps connect existing intentional communities and co-op businesses, as well as other social change activists together, and then also to facilitate the creation of new ones. So we've existed since 2013, and we've been here 3 years now to the conference. And John is going to help me out. We're going to have some audience participation. So you might ask, who is the transition for? If you can raise your hand if the following statements resonate with you, that would be great. And then everybody take a look around. And only put your hand down if you don't agree with the statement. So I'm going to start reading them off. You believe housing is a human right. You believe that everyone needs a basic education on how to survive sustainably. You believe that planned obsolescence is a practice that wastes our finite resources. You are interested in experimental models of living and working together like co-housing, eco-villages, co-ops, communes, and intentional communities. I don't think anybody would be here if that weren't the case. You know poverty is a man-made social construct. You study ideas and concepts regarding sustainability, permaculture, ecology, aquaponics. You believe that alternative technologies are withheld due to corporate greed. You believe cooperation is far more powerful than competition. You don't just talk about problems, you are a person who comes up with solutions to them and does something about it by methods of direct action. Okay, so pretty much everyone had their hands up for the majority of those, but we're kind of wishy-washy about the last one. At any rate, if you raised up your hand for any of those statements, the transition is looking for people like you to work with and have a long-term committed relationship to help change the world we live in now from the existing system we all live in. So we're interested to know what kind of projects are all of you working on right now, and we're going to write them up here. So are you working on starting an intentional community, or maybe a food forest, a free store? Are you part of Food Not Bombs? What kind of things are you guys working on right now?
We're working with Patchwork Gardens, which is a CSA urban agriculture project in Asheville, North Carolina. We're leasing them about a half an acre of our land and enter into a contract with them. They're working towards incubating urban farmers.
Awesome.
That's one thing that we're doing. We're definitely campaigning for Bernie Sanders. We feel like he's a man that's going to lead us into the 21st century in a very positive way by being involved in local advocacy. We just finished a graywater, rainwater collection system, permaculture design system.
Okay.
I mean, those are just a couple of things. We're just engaged in those kind of things.
That's fantastic. Anybody else? What kind of projects are you working on? Or that you're thinking about working on?
Starting community.
Starting community.
Yet again.
Anybody else?
Yeah, alternative energy methods and sustainable practices. Just permaculture and alternative farming practices.
Okay.
Right.
Vertical gardening and urban environment.
Right.
Okay, great. That's awesome. So with all, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, and you had something as well, right? Yeah. Also doing working on food justice, and then also connecting with the free cycle movement. And so we've hosted several free cycle events for the local community around our intentional community.
And how do you define food justice?
So connecting with organizations in areas that have kind of like food deserts, and working with those organizations, trying to help them out in some way, or bring their communities, bring them up to our community, or something in that regard. We're still figuring that out, how that can, and then also doing food justice education about what food justice is, and education to high schoolers or other people who might be interested in that.
That's really great. Really
And
neat.
then the other thing I said was free cycle.
So with all the projects that all of you are working on, what are the current hurdles that you're dealing with that's hindering you from doing what you're wanting to do, or maybe slowing down your process of getting to that end goal that you want?
Other people.
In what respect?
Just
That they're helping
that's
you or
all.
that they're not?
Teaching and unlearning the systems that we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So it's not just teaching them, it's also unlearning them what they do.
You have something up in the front?
Finding a space for a free store.
Okay. A free store? Is that what you said? Back here?
There's maybe a part-time funding
Dedicated
dedicated founders.
founders. We'll do Jeremy and then
Lack of funding and access to what it's getting.
funding and lack of technology.
Lack of access.
Oh, lack of access.
Patents.
Yeah, that's it.
I'd say one would be apathy.
Okay.
You know, definitely apathy is one of them, and I'd say the other one is finding coalescence and collaboration with other groups so that we can link ourselves, so that we're not working independently and duplicating or reinventing the wheel over and over again. It's certainly something that gets in the way. And then finally, I would say labor and money.
Okay.
Labor and money, just energy and money to keep it going.
Michael?
It's kind of complicated, but it's kind of, I would describe it as an issue of turnover, the word turnover, but turnover of like committed members. So
It's kind of an oxymoron.
turnover of
Attrition.
membership is how I would put it.
Attrition.
Attrition.
Tim, did you have something? Okay.
Yeah, I think when they stigma attached to it,
Another one I
Stigma.
find is idealism versus realism.
Yeah.
In other words, it's that idea of, I want to be a farmer, you know, with this romantic notion.
Without getting dirty?
You know, it's just, it's
Get up early. Ah,
it's this
so not for
notion,
me.
you know, like, so many of the things are like fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's, seems to be a real lag between the reality of what it takes to do the things that we're talking about doing and what that actually takes and what people imagine or have built some kind of thought process around. And that's very defeating because usually their first experience can be so shocking that they just like, you know, we do woofers, and I think that's probably the one thing that we've done that's been so good at Cedar Springs Farms the last 2 years is woofing, having woofers come in, because we can basically, they come in, we feed them, we give them a place to stay, but we live this lifestyle, which they see. So it's not very intentional like what we're doing, but it just happens. And so.
So, something about the transition is that our principles are based off of the story Stone Soup. How many of you have heard the story of Stone Soup? Okay, there's a few of you that haven't. So I'll give you a little synopsis. Stone Soup is an old folk story in which hungry strangers persuade local people of a town to share their food with them in a time that had scarcity. And it demonstrates that the end benefits the group by combining individual resources, making the whole greater than the sum of its parts. The story is usually told as a lesson in cooperation, especially amid scarcity. And in varying traditions, the stone is replaced with other inedible objects like buttons, wood, nails, or an axe. So, yes? I can't hear you.
Definitely deceive people in cooperation.
Yes.
Just joke.
Yes.
So, the main project that we're working on currently is building our website, to help give our supporters the needed resources and a lot of the things that you guys listed here as your hurdles. And if you were here last night where we separated it into the 4 different corners, a lot of those things that you're hungry for, we've actually developed, or we're working in the process of developing it. And we're currently in our beta stages right now of building the website. So we have a few beta testers. Tim is one of them. So let me outline a few of the benefits of using our website. It's going to act as a virtual social change network that will be useful to people in many situations, not just those who live in community, want to live communally, or are already involved in growing networks or other activism groups. On the site, we'll form a community of ourselves, and we will feature a variety of models, programs, and community-driven business structures for contributors to use. You'll be able to find other like-minded, proactive people like yourself. You'll have a customized action plan that acts as a blueprint outlining everything that needs to be done to reach your specific goals. You'll be able to locate food wherever you are that's closest to you. You'll be able to have user reviews on conferences like this one, businesses that are within this niche of like local farmers and things like that, and even visitors who go to visit different ICs or woofers. You'll be able to leave reviews about them of whether they're a good communard, whether they do their fair share, or whether they're someone that other people might not want to deal with. There'll be also tools and resources to get your projects off the ground, an events calendar that coordinates all of these types of events that all of you are interested in, which I feel personally eliminates what I've coined unintentional sabotage. I can't tell you how often I've seen people within my personal network that have all thrown on a crowdfunding campaign at the same time. And they all have a goal. A lot of them have similar overlapping goals that they could probably work together. They run their campaign at the same time, they're hitting up the same niche demographic, and then none of them reach their goal and they wonder why. And it's because they weren't informed of these other groups, they didn't know that these crowdfunding campaigns were going on at the same time. And the same goes for local events, multiple groups hold an event on the same night and they had no idea because they didn't know of each other, but they have the same network of supporters and friends involved. So we want to try and eliminate that, and also the redundancy that happens a lot of the time. There'll be a classified section. You'll be able to find community, friendship, love interests or interests, jobs, internships, business opportunities, volunteers and consultants to help you with your projects. There's also sharing section, which features objects, skills, and spaces. And there'll be opportunities for matched funding, so you can raise half of what you need and we'll match you. There'll be an up-to-the-minute directory of specific individuals involved in the movement at your fingertips, depending on what specific skill set or thing you're looking for. And you'll also be able to get paid in cash or prizes that you decide on for helping to grow the movement. We reward the people who participate in our network with money via PayPal or some other pay method. No one's going to become a millionaire. You might not even be able to support yourself, but it'll be extra money that you can, cash out when you reach a certain point, or if you want a permaculture book, then our organization can buy it on your behalf essentially based off of your participation on the site. So here's a little bit about the transition in numbers. Like I said earlier, we were established in 2013. This is our 3rd conference and our first time speaking in this setting other than open sessions. We have a total, as of recently, the last time I checked the internet, 9,172 supporters and contributors, and the reach is well into the millions, so if they spread something about what we're doing, it's a total of several million. We have 9 countries represented currently, 10 U.S. states, and 22 seed or bud teams, 4 active volunteers, 9 ICs, and 16 co-ops involved with us currently.
How many hits are your site getting?
Our site's not launched right now. We're in beta testing,
Okay.
so we're not live.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you picked all this up. You're
We're networking currently. Our people using Facebook, and we're using it kind of as like a waiting room until the
Okay.
website's
I got
ready.
you. I
So
got you.
we have people in
got
various
you.
groups there
I got
that we tap into and work with.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Real quick, can you explain what a seed or bud team is?
So we have created a document called Our Plan, which is the first 4 phases of our long-term plan to get from the here and now to what we call a global egalitarian system. And
World domination.
and those first 4 phases, the beginning phases, are about essentially creating your own tribe. And we've worked with C.T. Butler of Food Not Bombs, and he wrote the book on conflict and consensus. And he wrote a book called Consensus for Cities. He hasn't officially published it. He did a quick run for people involved in the Occupy movement. And we've consulted with him to figure out how to make it happen on a global scale. And so we've taken that information, and one of the things he talks about in that book is creating a BUD. BUD stands for Basic Unit of Decision Making. And that's how you can make consensus scalable on a huger level. So you have to start your team, a BUD. And so we call people that have less, a BUD is 5 to 15 people. And so if you have less than 5 people, we call you a seed team because you're a BUD in training. And so everybody can participate in more than one BUD. And like for instance, if Twin Oaks operated on the BUD system, a person could be part of a BUD based on the building they're living in. If they were a parent, they might be part of a parenting BUD. If they had to do with food production, they'd be on a food production BUD. And you come to consensus on issues relating to each of those things. And then if it's a major issue that the whole community is involved with, then each BUD sends a delegate to the next level, and it keeps scaling up like that. So is that a pretty good overview for BUDs and seeded?
And this is regarding decision-making
Yes.
on a global scale,
Yeah.
right? In things that have to do with community, our lives, or...
Yeah, did anybody ask you if you wanted to participate in fracking, for instance? No. And and
yeah.
if we operated on this system, you'd be able to have a voice in whether or not
You
companies
guys
should be
are
allowed to
actually
frack.
creating a direct democracy alternative, grassroots, get up above the existing government that we have. So actually, we've got 4 million signed petitions against you because we've got that many participants, so back off.
Exactly.
So you're actually trying to develop an alternative political power that's generated not through elections and not even through petitions or whatever. It's through participation.
Direct democracy.
And then we set the agenda and we vote on it. And that...
How are you funding yourself?
Currently, we have donations. Part of the website is going to be paid content, and what we're going to use, we're asking people to donate $5 a month. And so that $5 a month goes towards running the website, but also that money goes back to the people participating on the network. So if you were an intentional community and you came to us and you said you needed solar panels, we'd say, okay, raise half of the money and we'll match you. And so the pooled funds from that $5 a month goes towards purchasing those solar panels. If we couldn't get them some other way within our network, first we'd send out, information saying, does someone own a solar panel company? Could you donate these solar panels to this community? Or do you have the skill set to fix this broken thing instead of buying a new thing for them?
Right.
And then if it comes down to money, then we supply the
So
funding.
here's my curiosity.
Sure.
This thing could be tremendously successful very rapidly. It could go viral, and what I've noticed in some situations is where something is emerging and it goes viral, it shuts down. In other words, the first, I don't know what I'm trying to say, it's like having a good solid foundation so when you have rapid growth, you don't end up losing your audience to a certain extent. Is that making any sense what I'm saying? It's like, because what you're doing has a potential, unbelievable potential, but if it really works and takes off, how are you envisioning it if it really takes off?
Well, the thing about the transition is we're not trying to be like a centralized hub that's like domineering and telling people what to do. We're empowering people to do the things they want to do and just giving them the tools and resources to do it.
It's like Facebook.
I understand, it could grow really rapidly.
Yeah.
So that's my question is, if it really grows rapidly, how will you be able to manage that?
Well, what are you thinking that would happen to break it down that we wouldn't be equipped?
We'll take the Obamacare thing. In other words, you come up with a great idea, and then all of a sudden you're online, and if you don't have the system that can manage the volume and numbers of people who are coming in.
About the computer collapse.
Yeah, in other words, you can't handle that. And then once you have people are unsuccessfully able to tap in, and my experience has been for people who are entering something that's a little bit different, if it fails, when they try it, they move away from it. They walk away from it. So what you got to do is you've got to ensure, I don't know how you do this, but I just know that growing with some pattern, right? Growing with some kind of pattern that allows for expansion so that the growth doesn't. What I do is I say my creative edge exceeds my capacity to produce. In other words, the creative edge here is unbelievable. Okay, so the capacity to do what you're creating, what happens in my personal life is I burn out because I can't keep up with it. I try to keep up with it. So what I'm saying is the last thing I would want to see, I think what you've got going is something I've been dreaming about for years. I'm serious about that. I'm just so tired of Facebook and all those modes. I've been waiting for something that speaks my people, okay?
Exactly.
But I just wanted to, I'm just raising that question about
Well,
that piece.
we built our website on a platform called Nation Builder, and we talk to the people at Nation Builder on a regular basis. They've actually given us gifts to give out to all of you today. If you haven't already got a book from me, you can get one, and it talks about the company. But we're doing our beta testing where we're scaling up slowly with groups of people, and we're testing out how that works and if there's glitches and if there's kinks. And after this conference, we're going to scale up to the largest number of inviting people in, about a group of 300 people. And so we're doing it at a little bit of it at a time and making sure that things are set up intuitively too, so it makes sense to people of how to go through the process. Because part of the thing about the transition website is it's set up kind of like a little checklist of what you need to do the first 4 phases, and then after the first 4 you kind of pick your own adventure, if you kind of remember those books from back when you were a kid. And so everyone goes through the preliminary first 4 phases and has this basic education, how to be a decent human being, because we need to unlearn what we've been raised in. And then you can pick your own adventure of, do I want to start an IC, do I want to start a co-op, or woofing farm, or what have you. And so I think we'll be able to catch those types of problems that you're worried about as we scale up. And then we have the support of Nation Builder to increase, the bandwidth and things like that when the numbers are crazy and out of control.
But it is a really good point, because there's always bugs that emerge that you didn't think about. Even if you think you thought of everything, there's always bugs in the system. And it's true, when something gets big and people are like, oh, have you tried this website? Everybody logs on at once. And then there might be a problem where there's some bug, because there might be attacks on the system, or there might be failure somewhere, and then people will withdraw just as quickly as they jumped on if it grows too fast, if you've got bug at the exponential growth point.
Yeah,
and it's an interesting systemic and business thinking.
That's that felt really good, what you just said. It gave me a sense of propriety, that you're thinking about these things and you're doing it.
Well, I'm glad, and we've taken a lot of time to have one-on-ones with our supporters, and it's not unheard of for me to be on the phone or on Skype with someone for 3 or 4 hours and to hear their pain points and what they want to do and what's hindering them from doing it. And so yesterday was really validating to the both of us, because it's like, yes, we're doing exactly what everybody wants, and we've been listening and hearing the right things and building it into the site. And so we really hope I mean, my last slide to talk to you guys about is to sign up and be a beta tester. And we would love all of you here to sign up and be a beta tester and be involved with what we're doing and, you know, see if it resonates with you and see if it's something you can stand behind. And we can all move forward from there. And the whole purpose is to raise everybody up. This isn't picking sports teams of, you know, who you're behind or what movement you're behind. It's about getting everybody under one umbrella and supporting everybody and moving our goals forward and stop this unintentional sabotage and redundancy that's happening within the movement.
So like you want to say a year from now, what do you imagine it will look like?
I'm hoping a year from now, we also have land so we can have our headquarters, because I think it's really hypocritical for us to be, you know, singing this gospel of how people should be living and not be living it ourselves. And we hope to have kind of an education program like you guys were talking with Karen about having people stay with us and learn about community and then go off and start their own ICs and co-ops and different social change programs as well, because we'll be featuring different types of programming that people can host, like movie screenings, book clubs, potlucks, things that, you know, are not as threatening to people from the mainstream, and easing them into the idea of how communal life could impact their life in a real way and in a real positive way.
We already have a place for you to have
No, we're looking at land. We're in discussions with some people right now.
which state at least?
I'm sorry?
State.
Currently, we're talking to someone in Iowa, and we're looking at a schoolhouse there.
Part on.
Waterloo?
So, am I getting this right in terms of the finance? Just a little question. The financiers, like, you pick certain companies that you like, say Unify or something like that, and you say, hey, we will sell your product if you give us, if you're willing to sell it for less. Why don't you be our sponsor in some way? And if people want to buy something for their community, we will link you as a discount. So that they have more of a guaranteed market. Is that
This is a discussion Gil and I had on the side earlier today, but we have been looking into different ways to reduce the barrier of getting into intentional community. And one of the big things that we keep seeing with our supporters and contributors is their everyday bills are what's in the way of them starting community. And so we feel that once the site is launched and we have lots of numbers, that we can court businesses like cell phone companies and internet providers and different things like that to negotiate terms or discounts for our supporters. And I have actually been in discussions with cell phone companies and things like that. And granted, you know, getting involved with one cell phone company isn't going to cover the whole globe, because there's different companies in every country and different things like that. But to start discussions with talking to, you know, credit unions and being able to get the backing of credit unions, and instead of being like a beggar like most non-for-profits do, they go, oh, can you give us money? And companies say no because it's not in our budget. But if you say, I'm going to help your business, let's do a business deal, there's more funds available.
Right.
And so if we say we have 100,000 people, we want to sign up for your credit union, there's a price on that they're willing to pay. And so then that money also funds all of our projects and everything we're doing as well. And then it helps reduce the cost. If it's a cell phone company or whatever, you're not paying as much.
Have you heard of like Freedom Mobile?
They have bad service though. They have really bad reviews, customer service.
Car insurance. Because if you guys say, oh, our members aren't like meth users, they aren't like, our members are good, upstanding citizens, they're just really poor. They might be like, you mean they're not as likely to go like racing their Corvettes around? We can cut you a deal if you can somehow tell us that having membership in this website means that you're less likely to get in a car accident. We will offer you better rates, and that starts meaning something. That's where, like, because a lot of us are paying high insurance for things because we just fit into that rubric, even though we're not really that person. So if you start to be able to create a new identity, it might mean something to people who are like, oh, these people don't default on their loans nearly as much. Or, you know, they don't crash their cars as much. There's certain things they don't abuse, they don't go to hospital recreationally, they try to treat themselves at home with herbs. So maybe they'll start giving better rates.
Right, and we can't have that foot in the door and that introduction until we have something of worth to them.
Right.
And we don't have something of worth to them because we're not launched and we don't have a huge supporter base. And that's
Right.
another reason why we're doing the beta testing. So we don't launch an empty website with people that are non-participatory and not doing anything, like a lot of other social networks have sprung up. And they're like, this is the next best thing.
Right,
And
right.
then nobody's on there and nobody's posting anything. And so we're going to start off with a huge base of people already participating. Does that make sense to everyone?
Absolutely.
What's your numbers that you're thinking about before you go public?
We're just trying to work out all the kinks and make sure all the information that people are asking for and want from the get-go is on there and in the way that makes sense to them. So that's what we're
So
focusing
once
on.
it's,
Yeah, once everything runs smoothly and people have it really down pat of how things are and it works for them and it's consistently like that for all of the users that are using it, then we'll be ready to go. Jeremy?
We use some of the terrible systems like the social networks have already, which is Facebook started introducing a way to send finances directly to people through chat. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but it seems like a viable model. We can just say, here's some emergency funds in case you need them, and we can have an easy way to chat with people in real time, video chat and everything.
So a thing that we just decided on before we came to the conference was to partner with GrantCoin, which is an alternative currency, and they grant funds to, you know, projects like intentional communities and doing things that are good for the environment. And through them, we'll be able to accept, you know, that $5 a month via Twitter is the easiest way that you can donate via Twitter. It doesn't have to be $5 a month. You could donate whatever you want, you know, thousands of dollars or a few pennies, and you can tweet about it, and we'll get that funding. So I hope that answers your question for that. And then we're not going to build every tool that we need because there's a lot of fantastic tools already out there. And so we're featuring them on our website and giving you that kind of in your virtual toolbox. Because there's a lot of great tools out there that aren't getting, you know, the respect that they really deserve. Anything else? Sure. I think that's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah!